And right back with it. Now this section is objection prevention stage, current situation. Basically what we're doing here is finding out what held them back in the past, because past actions leads to the current belief system and why they're doing what they're doing. So whatever stopped them in the past is going to stop them again. Like that's why they're in the same position they're in right now, and that's why they're a prospect. So basically, going in this situation here, we're just trying to find out, like, honestly, what stopped in the past and why, and what is their thought pattern behind that, so we can actually help them reframe the way of thinking, let them see the other side of it, and get them to really understand, like, what has held them, like, what they've lost by staying in that same situation, and what's going to happen if they continue to have this way of thinking. So what we want to do is, right after we finish the problem as current situation, we want to be finding out, like, okay, just so I can see the rationale, like, why look into some outside help with your fitness instead of, I don't know, just crossing your fingers and doubling down on what you're currently doing. So what you want to do here is, we're eliminating do it yourself objection. There's a few objections you can get. Do it yourself or do it on your own. Um, there's time, which we'll go into, not a real objection. Fear, typical one. Then there's time, money, and then there's past the feature failure and stuff like that. That goes into fear, but we can go into that. So yeah. So first thing is do it on your own, or DUI, do it yourself. We want to eliminate this right away, because what this is here is, why actually get some outside help with this? So yeah, you want to emphasize, look for some outside help instead of just crossing down and doubling down on what you're currently doing, or just trying to figure it out yourself. There's different ways you can word it, but that's the justification of what you want to say. So then they'll be like, the answer you want here is because I don't take too much time, or I've already been trying and it hasn't been working. So they're like, okay, you want to get that answer. Sometimes they might be like, yeah, that's a good idea, which I can go down in a different video. But then you want to go, okay, well, what do you really value more, your time or money? They'll probably say time or money. Why? Okay, do you feel like that's possibly why we're in this current situation we are now? It's different reframe we can go down here, but typically 99% of the time they'll be like, it's gonna take too long, because you just went through the problem and they just told you what the problems were with what they're currently doing. So you don't really have to run into that, but you just do a time versus money objection handle there. And then say, okay, in regards to that, before you and I were speaking, were you out there looking for ways to get help with your fitness so you can, get XYZ, or what have you been doing about that? So you basically just want to plug in mechanism, what you're selling here, and seeing, like, okay, so what have you done about getting the help? Because you just said that it'll help you and save you a lot of time. Then they'll be like, yes or no. There's two different ways to give you. If they say yes, you want to understand, did it work or did it not work? Because there's like a few different, like, kind of like ways we can go down here. There's yes, they did something, or no, they didn't do something. Let's cover no first. If they didn't do anything, you need to find out, okay, what's prevented you in the past, which is where you get these objections. They might be, this is a big thing here, is you want to understand what they're saying. So you want to listen to them, really, really need to listen to them and listen to what they're saying, but not only what they're saying, but what they mean by what they're saying. Because there's a lot of, like, stupid objections that might be hidden behind this. Or, like, yeah, another objection you'll get is I didn't know about it, which is a whole different thing as well. But typically it boils down to fear, money, because let's say, like, oh, I've been looking at a few different coaches. Okay, well, if you knew you couldn't fail, would you do it? Yes. Why? Because it's just a lack of uncertainty. So there's different reframes you can go through, and that's a whole different. I'll go into that more objection handling, but this is just the general idea of, like, what we're doing in objection prevention. So whenever you get the objection, you need to first understand what it is, clarify the objection so you can put it in one of these sections, and then you want to reframe their way of thinking on that objection to get them to understand it's this excuse. It's not an actual objection; it's an excuse, and you want them to understand it. Once you get an agreement on the reframe, you go into, okay, and, like, so agree, like that's why you're current. So is that possible? Like, the way, do you feel like it's safe to say then the way that you've been thinking about is the reason why we're at where we're at right now? Yes, like, you are where you are because we had that way of thinking. And another thing you want to do here, I forgot to mention, is when you go into that, like, once they give you the objection, like, yeah, like, I used to think like that as well. So you get them to drop their guard. Like, be like, it's okay. Like, I used to think like that as well. To get on the same side of the table as them. Then yeah, get them to agree that's why they where they currently are, because they had that way of thinking. And that's not the right way of thinking. Okay, so how much have you lost? You want them to get, like, okay, so you thinking about like this for the past 2 years. Like, what do you think that's costed you, or how much further along you think you could have been? Oh, I've lost a lot. Really? How so? Another thing here, pro tip: you want them to actually say what, like they say, like, yeah, I lost a lot. A lot of what? Money. Money for what? You want them to really like. You don't want service level. Probe it a bit. Like, what have you? What could have you done with this money? What could have? I could have signed my kid up for another sport. I could have got him tutoring. Okay. So what happens if you keep the same way of thinking? Like, what happens if we keep the same way of thinking for another 2, 3 years? I'll be in the same place, which looks like what? Get them to really justify, like, what is going to happen. I'm still going to be living paycheck to paycheck. And are you willing to settle for that? You want to get them. Are you willing to settle for that? No, they're not going to say. They're not going to settle for that. Why not though? Because you can, and most people do. Get them to justify why they need to take action now. And why is now the right time to take action? Just another why now. Just another plant the seed on why they need to do it today. Boom. You go through this, like, this is how you go through it. So that's if they say no, they haven't done anything. That's most of the time. They might say yes. If they say yes, then there's two things. Did it go well? Did it not go well? If it didn't go well, now you need to get them on the same side of the table, and you need to pre-handle fear, because now it's gonna be fear of it not working. Okay. So you can be like, hey, there's different ways to go about it. Hey, I mean, kudos to you for even getting on this call, because a lot of people, like, they have the one bad situation, they just completely say, nah, this is not for me. Where do, I guess, those type of people typically end up? In the same place? Yeah. So why is it so important for you not to go down that route? Because yeah, because what happens if you keep the same way of thinking and you're in the same place 2 years from now? What will that look like? This, like, he's going to have a little consequence, but basically, you don't want to, like, especially when you're newer in sales, you don't really want to punch them around too much in this section, because you can do it wrong way. It can come off really bad. So you want to make sure that, like, you're doing it within reason. But what I've found is, if they did get burned in the past, they're still on the call, you want to just kind of consequence them a bit, let them know, like, hey, like, good thing we're doing something different this time, identity frame on them, and then you want to move forward. You don't want to punch them too much, because if you're not really good with it and you don't really know what you're saying, you could really just hurt yourself. And they'll be like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm here. Like, I'm here. But yeah, so that's if something went bad. Or you can go over this reframe with, have you ever been in a relationship before? Yeah. Okay. How many relationships have you been in? Are you currently in a relationship? Well, after that one relationship, did you just completely stop talking to girls? No. Why not? Because I know there's a good girl out there. Of course, man. Like, what would have happened if you just said, like, hey, one girl did me wrong, all of them are bad? I wouldn't have found my current girlfriend, been happy. Mhm. And is it it's possible? There's also, like, mentors and actual programs out there like that. Yeah. And what happens if you keep the same way of thinking, that holds you back from getting action to get to your goals? Da, 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 da. But that's if they say they got burnt before, or if they did do something. You want to ask them, okay, that's good, man. I mean, it's good that you took some action. I guess, like, what has you still looking for some outside help with this, even though you did get some help and you got to where you want to be? Oh, because that's not where, because that only got me so far. I need to get to the next level. Or, um, yeah, it only got me so far. I want to get to the next level, or that didn't get me to the level I wanted to be at. That was a long time ago. So cool. If they say something that's like 5 years ago, this is where you might want to go back into, like, okay, so it's been 5 years. Like, what's kind of held you back? It's a little while, man. What's kind of held you back? So if it's too long, you might want to go back into, like, pre-handle, because, like, you took action 5 years ago. Congrats. But we've been in the same situation now for 5 years. So what's held us back from taking action then? But in an apple nutshell, this is the objection prevention stage. Let's get it. Keep working. Keep grinding. Let's print.